The Mastering Local Marketing podcast helps local small business owners like you understand what it takes to successfully market your business and drive new customers through your doors. We provide actionable insights, interview leading experts and business owners in various industries, as well as provide tips and tricks we've uncovered over the last 25 years in the field. Whether you're starting your business or you've been at it for decades, let us provide you with the education and resources you need to grow your customer base. It's time to start mastering your local marketing. Here's your host, Matt Hansen.
I could start the podcast how I start my radio show.
You could start how.
Do you know how I do that?
No.
Hela Minieres Kife Papama.
Yeah, we don't want them turning off right away. I think I got the wrong one.
This is Mastering Local Marketing, episode 43, Stop Building Fragmented Target Audiences. I'm Jim Diedlow, and he is Matt Hansen. Thanks for coming in on your day off.
We got to keep going.
There's a lot of myths about marketing, and one of those is target marketing.
Yeah.
And I took Matt Hansen's courses here at Purdue Northwest. And if I took two things out of your courses, one is how to email market and, the A/B testing and the importance of email marketing. And then the other is target marketing. Mm-hmm. And the irony here is not lost. I have two new people that just started in marketing here. And we were just in there trying to pick out and talk about our target market for our sports streaming network. And if I hadn't taken your course, I wouldn't even have known what to talk about.
Right.
And so when you talk about, let's just go straight at this. When you talk about target marketing, define it.
Yeah, so a target audience, you can call it target market, target audience. Some people call it an avatar, but it's really kind of the individual that you have defined as who is going to be your customer. And many times, and even recently, I've done some presentations where people are talking about defining who that is. And the problem that we have with it is most people look at it from an age, gender, household income kind of thing. So let's pull it back. There's an image out there on the internet, and let me put it into context here. So there's a watch brand that I absolutely love, which I will never buy because I cannot afford it. It's a Richard Mille. You can see through it, see all the gears. It's this gorgeous piece of machinery, but it's about $250,000 for a watch, right? So they're expensive. If you were selling that, you would probably look at that and go, okay, well, let's start to pick out who this is going to go toward, right? So it's a men's watch, so we're probably targeting males. We're probably in that 50 plus range where more established, high income, obviously, if it's a $250,000 watch. So we're wealthy, live in a large house, all of those types of things. And many people will go out there and say, okay, great, that's our avatar. That's who we're going after. But if you start to look at it a little bit deeper, you're looking at it just from a surface level. You're looking at the demographic makeup of it. And just because it's age and gender and income doesn't necessarily mean that it's ideal. So if I said 50 plus, wealthy, lives in a big house, all of those types of things, male, and I said King Charles is somebody that we would target. You'd go, well, that makes perfect sense. I can see King Charles wearing that type of watch, given the fact that, he's royalty and he has all this money and all this other stuff. On the flip side, the exact same person demographically is Ozzy Osbourne. So when you put those two together, those of you that don't know who Ozzy Osbourne is out there, but Ozzy is, at one point in his life, bit the head off a bat on stage as a rock star, obviously an older gentleman at this point, but you're comparing two individual people that are drastically different, right? I don't know if Ozzy is going out there and buying this watch, but I can definitely see the king buying this watch or somebody buying it for him, essentially, right? So what we're talking about today really is you have to go beyond demographics, beyond geographics, and start to look at behavioral patterns of your target audience, because that's where it really matters. And that's kind of the things that we're going to go through today.
So, by the way, just to remind everybody, you're listening to Mastering Local Marketing. Sometimes this plays on my radio stations and my TV network. So I want to remind you that we're here to talk to the small and medium-sized business, and, you know, how can you market with the least amount of money and still get some good ROI. So when you're talking about King Charles and Ozzy Osbourne, certainly they are well known, but they're, you know, most of the people that you want to buy this are not well known.
Right.
And but you're looking at the media that they take in and the information habits that they go through.
Right.
And how do you start looking at those two categories?
Well, I think the biggest thing is everybody is online today. So we talk about digital a ton on this show, and everybody is online. They're doing different habits. So are they going to Google? Are they going to Yahoo still? Are they going to Bing? Are they going to social for their information? Are they checking email? Are they going to ChatGPT? There's a whole argument right now about whether or not AI is destroying social, and that we could get into that in a future episode, to be honest with you. But where are people getting their information? So even in my own household, there are, you know, it's my wife and myself and our two kids. My wife watches TV. I don't watch TV. When I do watch TV, it's some kind of streaming show that I've stumbled upon, and I'll binge it real quick and be done with it, and I don't go back to TV then. She is, you know, she's on her certain social networks. I may look at a few here and there for different things that I'm doing, that I'm working on, but it's more business side than it is pleasure side. When I go online, I'm looking for individual things that I'm trying to do, right? Things that I need information on. She uses it as entertainment. Now, I'm not saying that that's a gender difference, but I am saying that we are about the same age and that we live in the same household, but we have completely different ways of consuming content. It's the same way with, with my kids. Obviously, they consume a lot of video and long-form content and short-form content and all of this type of stuff. But when I sit down to watch something, I want to learn something. So I'm more long-form content versus the short, quick, in and out, in and out, in and out. You have to understand who you're going after. Again, I look at my father-in-law. He's 80 years old, and he's on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and all these things all the time. Now, is another 80-year-old? Maybe not. I don't know. But you really have to start asking your customers, understanding what they do in their spare time, where they get their messaging, where they get their entertainment. And that will help you build a better avatar, target audience, however you want to say it. But that will give you a much better idea of where to find them. So you're not just putting content out there in the hopes that you're hitting them. You've already talked to them and understand the platforms that they're on, so that you can actually put the messaging out there in front of others just like them.
So let's say you are able to do that as a small business. You're like, this is where many of my customers in the past have gone digitally. Social, search, traditional, even, newspapers, even radio, which I own a couple of radio stations here, and certainly other traditional methods of billboarding and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, you got to figure out, now I know where they are, what kind of content do I give them?
Right.
And, how do you start determining that?
Yeah, I think, if you're talking about social, and a lot of people kind of focus in that area, it doesn't matter what small business I'm talking to, it always jumps to social instantaneously, right? So look at the content that you've been offering and see if we've done short form content and long form content, which one is getting more engagement? Are there people looking, chiming in? Are they commenting? Are they liking? Are they sharing? Are you putting content out there on YouTube? Is it long form or is it shorts, right? So shorts will get you pretty quick eyeballs real quickly, but it's not necessarily keeping people there to subscribe and follow you, right? So if you're putting a 5 to 15 minute video on there and you're not getting the leads, you're not getting the views, you're not getting what you're looking for, but your short form content is driving, going up, realize that your audience probably is a little bit more interested in the short form content, so go that direction. But there's a million different ways that we can do it, and we could talk in here for 5 hours if we wanted to, but just pay attention to the things that are getting eyeballs and responses.
So I'll give you an example on that. We do streaming TV and we do the streaming radio, and we merge them together, and people come in and they do a show for like 25 minutes, and now we're podcasting them. Mm-hmm. And the 25-minute show worked well on radio because we have to gobble up time.
Right.
And that's a perfect number, and then we hit the top of the bottom of the hour and we play a spot and give our ID. Then we go to another 25-minute show. Mm-hmm. But when we move it over to a podcast, we could tell that the people that are niche listening are, they want more in the 15 to 18 minute thing, especially if it's like a town councilman coming in and talking about their town. They're good for about 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And that last 10 minutes, they might as well not do it.
Right. Yeah.
It's just the length right there is pretty easy to tell.
Yeah, look, I mean, the other thing to look at is engagement rates. So are people watching all the way through, or are they bailing after 10 minutes, 15 minutes? And you'll see a lot of that, right? So the number one thing that you hear with content and putting it out there is give them the hook, get them in, teach them something quickly. And 9 times out of 10, people are starting to fall off as they go towards the end. And I've seen this repeatedly. It doesn't matter what business I'm looking at, but people fall off over time. They get the gist of what's going on. I'm sure they do that with his podcast as well. We give them all of these things, and you and I get into a conversation after we've gone through our 5 or 6 things, and I'm sure people jump to the next one. And that I get it, right? Time is short. That's why we on here, we try to stick between that 18 and 22 minute time slot, and that's what we do. But people don't want 3-hour podcasts.
Timing, speaking of time, the timing and the frequency, let's say for us, I put my shows in the morning. There's a timing. We know when more people are going to be in their cars listening on the radio. We won't know when we play the show later. And on demand, then there's a little bit more of a spike in the evening on the shows and the podcast. So you kind of have to pay attention to that also when you're doing a traditional like the radio would be, and also if you're going on social media. So how do you start looking at like, all right, I'm going to bust out a Facebook post, and you got to start thinking, well, geez, when's the best time to put this out?
Yeah, the great thing about Meta at this point is that they'll actually recommend the best time for you to post. And it'll be different based on Facebook and Instagram, right? So it'll say, hey, you should post at 6 a.m. on Facebook, but you should post this thing at 4 p.m. on Instagram. Okay. You mentioned the podcast stuff, but with a podcast, it jumps in the morning and then it jumps in the afternoon again with downloads. And that is because people are listening to it on the way to work and on the way home. It's the same idea. So if you're dealing with people that have to drive to work and that's your target audience, you got to realize you've got podcasts, you've got streaming content, streaming audio, you've got regular radio, you have billboards, right? So all of these things that people are seeing on their way to work and on their way home make sense. So if you're targeting a 25 to 55-year-old in that space, start to look and go, okay, are we in a commuter area, and where can I be as I'm getting them, right? We've got our train system that takes you into downtown Chicago. That's another opportunity. So there's all of these things, and if you understand your avatar, your target audience, and what they're doing daily, that gives you a much better idea of where you need to be and where you need to put your message in. So if you're saying, well, they're commuters and they're going to work every day, I'm going to be on daytime TV, we all know that's just dumb. That's wasting your money, right? So just think you could flip that as well, right? So if I'm buying billboards and I'm targeting people that are retired, it's much easier to do daytime TV and even maybe look at newspapers at that point, along with the digital channels that you can go after.
We talk a lot about pain points and triggers and how they fit into different areas of local marketing. In terms of target audiences, how do you work that topic into this?
Yeah, so I think we look at it too often by trying to label somebody, but we don't look at, well, what are their frustrations with their current products, right? So are they buying insurance? What happened? Did they get in an accident? Did they do they have a 16-year-old now that has jumped their insurance? All of these things, these lifestyle things that we go through, are new problems to us. They're frustrations that we're dealing with, and we now are starting to look and go, all right, well, maybe I needed it to start shopping, right? I didn't know I needed this, or I didn't know that I needed to look into this until it hit. And at that point, we're looking at buyer behavior. So we've got media, and we understand where to place things and the timing and all of that. But now we have to look at the buyer behavior. So, we're in June. If you pay your insurance twice a year, it's typically, ours is in June and December, which is always fun as we get towards Christmas. But, the idea is, can you identify those areas of frustration, be out in front of it, and know that, okay, well, maybe every June there's a big uptick in people that are renewing their insurance. Maybe we should put our ads out there to try and pull some of those people away. It's the same thing with like tax season, right? So everybody starts wanting new cars and all these other things, vacations and all that. But understand when the pain points and the frustrations that they go through and identify those, and you can use those in your ads. You can use those for your timing of when you're placing your ads. There's all of this information that's just hiding there, and most people don't go that deep when they start to look at their audience.
So if you go back to the funnel, if you guys remember the funnel that we talk about, it is awareness, consideration, and I say close, but the consummation of the deal. A lot of times you're trying to create awareness, and then sometimes you're trying to, move people. They're already aware of you, get them down into the consideration stage. Often an emotional driver can help with that transition. Right. Talk about that.
I mean, we're human beings, so we're emotional, right? So we respond to things that are happening. I know we had talked in a couple podcasts before with Dr. Adderin about posting content that was false. We respond to things, right? So sometimes as human beings, we respond faster than we should. We are hit with certain things that remind us of episodes that we've gone through in the past. I was watching a movie the other day, and it was a baseball movie, and it starts to bring back the memories of playing ball growing up and playing through high school and all of that. And it was about a high school baseball team, and it just emotionally I was like, oh, this is it's not the greatest movie in the world, but like I remember those good feelings of hanging out with the guys and playing between the white lines and all the good and wonderful things that we did, and even the bad things that we did, right? So emotionally, we have to understand people will respond in certain ways. It could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing, right? So if you've bought a product in the past and you've had a bad experience with that product or with that brand, you take that with you, right? So you start to understand, I'm probably never buying that brand again. I had a really horrible experience there. And you start to understand, what was that horrible experience? We talked about reviews, right? So looking at reviews and how people respond. Go look at your competitors' reviews and look at the negative ones and play off of them, right? Go after it, right? It's out there for the taking. Figure out what they're doing wrong. Again, going back to a couple podcasts ago, we were talking about we're searching for a fence. And my wife sent me another one yesterday. She's like, here, call these people.
How many leads are you going to go through?
I have no idea. Nobody's calling us back. That's the problem, right? So that's a whole nother issue. But I was laughing because I was going through the reviews, and it was like 18 out of 20 were negative. And I went, oh, this should be fun. Right?
Hey, ultimately in the funnel, you get the awareness. You got somebody kind of thinking about it. How do you push them into the bottom of the funnel?
One of my favorite things was I assume that I know nothing when I do marketing, and so I test things. We talk about A/B testing and multivariate testing and all this, but I was working with a client. I thought I knew what people were looking for. We had built this landing page, and everything looked great. I was like, oh, this is going to kill it, right? It was talking about sitting back, relaxing, taking time. You don't have to work on this anymore. All this great stuff, like live your best lifestyle. No, that didn't convert at all. It was the installation video of the product. Literally, people were clicking on that installation video and then they were going straight to buy. So it had nothing to do with the lifestyle that we were trying to sell. It was all about, I get where you're going with this, but is this going to be very difficult for me to install? And it's the funniest thing because I had no idea, right? I would have never guessed that. And it's probably because I don't buy this type of product, but I just laughed about it because we elevated that. We put that out in front. We made that part of the avatar that they want something that's easy to implement, easy to use, and sales went through the roof.
So to summarize, you're looking at who your target audience is, who your avatar is, the buzzword for that, and you have it on different parts of the funnel, but it always comes back to the funnel: awareness, consideration, close. We got to have some research on this. You got 30 seconds to talk about that. I know you wanted about 20 minutes because this is where you excel in the research and the buying and the behaviors. But if you're a small and medium-sized business, especially with AI, you can really just put it in and they'll give it to you. Yeah,
the AI is great. It'll give you a lot of good ways to start your research. I've also identified that AI can produce some really bad research,
ones, yes.
Right? So use it for what it is. But research can be as simple as just sitting down and talking with your customers. Again, I say it all the time. Most people don't do it. Just sit down and have a coffee with them. They walk in, have a coffee with them. Take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes, take 20 minutes, but just have a conversation. So do your research beforehand, do your research after, monitor, track. But understand that your target audience, your avatar, is so much more than just an age, a gender, an income level. If you understand their buying behaviors, how they live their life, and their media habits, your avatar is going to be rock solid.
Awareness, consideration, close. You got to find out who you want to be in that funnel, and that was what this podcast was all about. He's Matt Hansen. We're coming at you from our WJOB Jed TV studios in Hammond, Indiana. Thanks a lot, Matt.
Thank you.
And until next time, see you later.
The Mastering Local Marketing podcast helps local small business owners like you understand what it takes to successfully market your business and drive new customers through your doors. We provide actionable insights, interview leading experts and business owners in various industries, as well as provide tips and tricks we've uncovered over the last 25 years in the field. Whether you're starting your business or you've been at it for decades, let us provide you with the education and resources you need to grow your customer base. It's time to start mastering your local marketing.